I'm Austin,
I'm Quintin,
and this is XMAS Movies.
the podcast where we talk about Christmas classics that aren't exactly classics. Today we're talking about Iron Man 3.
Yeah,
So, I really liked this movie.
yeah.
We watched Home Alone 2 also today, and this was just... It felt weird because I took a lot of notes on Home Alone 2, and I
Yeah.
did not take many on this because I was like, this is a more enjoyable movie to watch.
Oh, yeah. For this movie holds up a lot on rewatch. Actually,
does.
It's really weird. Like,
I
because a
didn't-
lot of people, when this movie first came out, a lot of people shit on it. It was weird.
It
It
was.
wasn't as much as like. It was kind of like the beginning. It was post Avengers. It was the first movie right after Avengers, so everybody was just kind of like a lot more like, oh man, this is comic book nerdy shit.
I would argue that this is one of the more comic booky movies that
Yeah.
has come out of the MCU.
But what
and
I'm-
I love it a lot.
Yeah, what I'm saying is like a lot of people got hung up over like comic book accuracy, specifically with the Mandarin. So I was really excited to like revisit this after we got Shang-Chi, when people just didn't. Now people don't care.
I mean, yeah, I like could care less
Oh,
about that storyline. I literally I haven't seen this movie in years, and I was so excited when we decided to do this show because I realized we could watch it again.
Yeah.
Because I really wanted to watch it in terms of like during the Christmas season and as a Christmas movie. I think it works pretty well as a Christmas movie, personally.
Okay. I personally, I'm not as on board with it as a Christmas movie. So one of the things that I did take some notes, not nearly as much as Home Alone, because Home Alone, it's easier to take notes on a movie that has more flaws.
Yeah,
But
and I think it's easier to argue. I think with a more flawed movie, it's a lot more easy to argue whether like or not it's a Christmas movie.
Yeah.
I think because this is just a good movie.
I don't know. It's like with a lot of Christmas movies, there's just this inherent like cheesiness. Like,
I think this was a pretty cheesy movie.
oh yeah, well like it's like a different kind of cheesy. I don't know. It's with this movie, it's the argument of whether or not it is a Christmas movie comes purely down to the fact of what you kind of consider a Christmas movie. With this one, it is a movie that takes place during Christmas. And for me personally, taking place during Christmas does not immediately make it a Christmas movie.
No, I don't. I agree with you there, but I think there are the themes of the movie inherently, I think, added with also the fact that it takes place at Christmas makes it a Christmas movie. I think there are a lot of movies like fucking Lethal Weapon takes place at Christmas, but there aren't a lot of themes in that movie that would make it a Christmas movie. But I think with this movie, I think the themes of growth and like trust and trying to like protect your loved ones, but like learning to like trust them and like let go a little bit. I think all of that is very much a Christmassy thing. And just because it's like a violent movie, and just because, well, I say violent just because it has action in it, and just because it explores some like also darker themes where it kind of explores like anxiety and PTSD, I don't think that makes it not a Christmas movie.
Yeah, like obviously none of those like the inclusion of these kinds of themes don't discount it from being a Christmas movie, but I feel like it's not like when I think of Christmas movie like themes, it's generally like family. It is like getting together. It's a lot of gift giving. Yes, there is a lot of family. Yes, there's a lot of stuff like that in this movie. But the big theme that I see in this movie is trauma and how people deal with it. It's hard, like the extremist soldiers all dealt with some form of trauma. Tony Stark is dealing with PTSD. Aldrich Killian is dealing with like kind of this like weird abandon. Which, by the way, I don't like that like villain trope at all.
I don't
but, like,
either.
He's still dealing with these kinds of issues.
I would argue that it is about those issues, but also the way those people like internalize it and how it affects the people around them, which is something that like a lot of people can relate to, especially during the holidays when you have that mental illness and those experiences you've gone through, the way that you can internalize it and how it can affect those around you when you're during the holiday season, when you're like around your family. That is something that I can certainly relate to, and I think it is about that, but like I do also see just like general themes of like goodwill and like gift giving. And I think one of the weird things was there was this weird little plot line, this little line that Tony says to the kid that like helps him out, Harley. He makes some comment about like a bully picking on him and how, and he like makes a couple remarks about like just like smart guys beating out like bullies. And like I was thinking about it, and it kind of struck me because in this case, Tony has been the bully, and like the whole thing with the villain is that he was bullied by Tony. And I think that is another thing, is it is a movie I realized about growth. Tony has flipped his life around and has tried to change it and become a better person. Whereas Killian, who is kind of like an incel character, has done the exact opposite and turned more and more into what Tony once was.
Yeah.
Which isn't like a Christmas theme inherently, but I think growth is something that is in a lot of Christmas movies.
Yeah, that's true. It's like another thing that I like to like think of is, and like I think is another like thing that is kind of crucial to having like establishing a Christmas movie, is if Christmas was taken out of the plot, like if it wasn't a part of the movie, would that change or not would it change the movie, but could the movie function? And would it be still a similar movie? I think the answer to that is yes. I think this could have taken place around a lot of taken place at a different time without dramatically changing the story. I think there's a lot. I think like because like a lot of like the opening, like where it takes place at like the Y2K like New Year's. I think they just did that just to like for like a recognition aspect and stuff like that.
I also think they did that because what I realized was they wanted the ending with Tony's suits exploding to have like, they wanted it to be a callback to iconography earlier in the movie, which was fireworks.
Yeah. Okay.
But I mean, I see what you're saying, but I think that one of the reasons I really love this movie is because it reminds me a lot of comics, but specifically Marvel comics set at Christmas time, because they are just kind of like superhero stories with like little sprinklings of the holiday season, and there are like a couple moments where they like all get where like Spider-Man will like celebrate with like Aunt May or something like that. And I think there are moments in this movie that would not function without Christmas. I think for the most part it is mostly like about Tony Stark, and it doesn't have to be set at Christmas. But that's part of the reason why I like it a lot, is because it feels very much like those Marvel comics that are about Christmas loosely, because they can't, because a lot of comic book readers are gonna read it and be like, oh, this is for kids now, so they try to make it set at Christmas instead of just being entirely about Christmas, with still having some of those themes, which I think this is actually literally the only superhero movie to really do that. I mean, well,
we have other like to be like,
okay.
We're talking about some other other superhero movies on this or superhero movie on this podcast. I guess
I don't remember what we put on the list.
Is one of the movies on the list.
Why would you say that? Why would you spoil it? We're cutting it out. We're bleeping that. We're bleeping that out because Austin doesn't know how to keep a surprise. Austin doesn't know how to keep a secret. But I mean, I understand what you're saying. I don't know.
Personally, I think like it's definitely. I think it definitely like has like the Christmas. I think it does like kind of like have like this Christmas aesthetic, and it uses that very well. But it's hard for me to really say that it's a Christmas movie, primarily because Hawkeye also recently came out. Hawkeye is okay, for we're recording this in early December, so this is right around the first, like when Hawkeye is like just starting to come out.
No, Hawkeye is the third episode of Hawkeye literally dropped today. Neither of us have watched it yet.
Hawkeye is full on Christmas.
It's not.
It beats you over the head with it constantly.
I don't think it has quite yet. I actually, part of the reason I don't like Hawkeye is because I might be entirely wrong, but to my recollection, there has not yet been an action scene set to a Christmas song. Has there been in the first 2 episodes?
No, not yet. I think it's a little early for that.
And that is one of the only reasons I don't like.
Was the LARP scene set to a Christmas song? Oh, okay.
That's the only reason I don't like. That's the only thing I dislike about Iron Man 3 is that none of the action set pieces are set to a Christmas song. Okay.
I'll scoot over.
I feel like we got off track.
We did get off track. We talked about Hawkeye. Okay, so we were talking about Hawkeye, and like how it relates to Hawkeye, and like Hawkeye. I know you don't 100% agree with this, but I personally think Hawkeye definitely embraces the Christmas aesthetic a lot more than Iron Man 3.
No, I do agree with you on that. But I don't think the aesthetic is necessary to make it like a Christmas story. I do wish there were like a couple scenes where I was like, this could be set in a more Christmassy setting. Like the like Home Alone-esque sequence, which I really love. He literally uses Christmas ornaments, but it's in Miami.
Yeah, it's in Miami.
The color palette's like orange and like greens, and it's like
it's in Miami because that's where Tony Stark lives.
Well,
but like that's
put some fucking lights up.
Yeah,
like it's not that hard. It's not that hard. Shane Black loves putting stuff at Christmas. Put it at Christmas.
Yeah,
like put it fully at Christmas.
Yeah. It's like they're and that's kind of why I'm like not as inclined to call it like a full on Christmas movie. I think it fits snugly in the camp where it has some Christmas themes, but it is not a Christmas movie.
I disagree, and I think I might be biased because I just like the movie in general.
Yeah,
but
I like the movie too. It's just like it doesn't feel as much like a Christmas movie. It just feels like a typical Marvel movie with like some like it feels like one of the better Marvel movies. That's
oh God,
like.
Yeah. I understand what you're saying. I'm thinking about this more and more. I still stand by what I said. I think it feels to me like a superhero comic like set at Christmas. And I think to me that's always like that's all I need. Like I think as long as it has some general like Christmas adjacent themes and a couple scenes with like some Yuletide festivities and aesthetics, that is enough for me to call it like a Christmas story, especially because most superheroes, especially Marvel superheroes, typically like go through some like Christmas arcs, I would say. Like I think Tony especially like learning to not be as like greedy or as much of an asshole.
He is definitely this like the Scrooge of the, he's kind of like the Scrooge of the Avengers a little bit.
I don't know. I wouldn't go that far. I think he's still like I think he is I think
he's an asshole.
No, he's an asshole, but I think he's a nice person.
Multiple characters in the movie call him an asshole.
Well, yeah, but I think that those do ever so slightly detract from the Christmas spirit, like, I guess a little bit, but in the same way that I think any, like, non-traditional Christmas movie, especially one with, like, a modern one with comedy does, like, I think a lot of comedy comes from, like, people being mean to each other a bit, which, like...
Yeah, a lot of comedy is some form of misery, whatever that quote is.
And I'm not gonna go any further because I will delete all of our audio files if we start dissecting comedy on this podcast.
Yeah,
I swear to God.
That's fair.
But I personally, I think it's a Christmas movie. I think the journey Tony goes through, learning to put a bit more faith in his loved ones and like working through his trauma I think that's actually something that's really important, is he learns to work on his trauma alongside Pepper. Like he doesn't have to fix it. He doesn't have to like fix her, protect her. They learn to like work on it together, which is something that is just a very good lesson, I think, for like life, and is also something that I think could be a very good Christmas theme, is like working together to move forward and like passing through your illness, not necessarily fixing it, just like working on it, finding someone to work on it through.
Yeah, I mean, like, I agree with a lot of the things, but like you said, like in terms of like themes and like all of it, that stuff that's present, and like yes, those are definitely like a lot of Christmassy themes, but it doesn't feel as much like a Christmas movie than a lot of other Christmas movies for me. A lot of Christmas movies for me really love utilizing that the Christmas aesthetic, and I think that is a really important part of a lot of Christmas movies. While Christmas definitely plays a part in the story, and there's definitely a lot of like other talks about like consumerism and like that kind of thing, but it's not really that talked about. It's weird. A lot of the Mandarin's attacks are on American consumerism, which is definitely
I would agree with that.
But like it's a lot of the whole kind of like, in terms of like how Christmassy it is, it doesn't feel as Christmassy to me.
I think it utilizes the Christmas aesthetic less, but I personally think it is more of a Christmas movie, or at least, okay, it might be less of a Christmas movie, but I think it does a better job of being one than Home Alone 2 does.
Oh, most certainly.
If we're going, like, not even in terms of just being a movie, I think just in terms of the themes and how it presents it.
Like, yeah, like in terms of how well it, like, if you focus on the Christmas themes, like, in what it's trying to tell, it definitely does a better job than Home Alone at utilizing those themes.
I think it does a very good.
2,
I think it does a very good job of doing what Home Alone 2 fails to do, which is using those darker moments to bring out the light. And I think that is one thing that I really, really love about this movie. Even though it is very cheesy, I don't really think there's. I think it does a very good job of using the darkness to bring out the light. Even though a lot of like the so-called darkness, in my opinion, is cheesy in a way that makes it feel like a Christmas comic book, like when Spider-Man swings around New York during December and shit like that. And I just like the fact, I think a lot of these movies, if they remind me of something in my life or my past experiences, I'm gonna want to call them Christmas movies.
Okay.
But for me, that is enough. Like, it feeling like one of those comics is enough for me to say, if those are Christmas comics, then this is a Christmas movie.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's fair. Okay.
Definitely more Christmassy than Home Alone 2. But
I'm inclined to put it like in terms of like, I feel like Home Alone 2 nails the Christmas aesthetic a lot more than Iron Man. Well, not like it
feels dirty though.
Yeah, because
it feels dirty.
Yeah,
when
because
it does it.
Because it's not in a very good movie.
They don't earn it. They don't earn that shit.
Okay, well, I think that's about it.
Yeah, that'll about do it. We didn't talk about the action or any of that. That was
no,
really
because
cool.
because this is like,
it wasn't relevant.
Yeah,
the action in this movie is really cool.
Yeah.
I really love it. But yeah, we once again are gonna be talking about a comedy tomorrow. We're gonna be talking about The Night Before.
Yeah.
Get
ready to cry.
What?
I thought you said you cried for this during this movie.
I haven't seen this movie.
Wait, isn't this the
night? What are you talking about?
Wait, what the fuck?
The Seth Rogen comedy.
Oh, wait. I thought...
Well, dramedy.
I'm Austin.
I'm Quintin.
Thank you for listening.
We'll see you guys next time. Every time. Oh my god. Take like green tape.
That's fine. It works.
Happy holidays.